Good evening. You are listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Extreme Studios in the Pinos Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. I've got from the great Midwest on the line here, RDV. And RDV, let me tell you, it was 90 degrees here in Central Florida the other day, and I know there's a polar vortex coming. It's probably hitting you. I don't really care, but I wanted to get that out there just to kind of rub it in because there are no
90
secrets
degrees
between us, sir.
I thought it was 8. I thought it was 80 something.
Hit 90 unofficially here. Yeah, that's how it goes. It's a little hot one, but yeah, Top Secret 1984 with Val Kilmer. This is a interesting movie. Movies are not made like this today. Or you could argue movies that are like Top Secret come from the Zucker brothers and this whole generation and all that too. And there's only a certain kind of comedy with it. But I've seen this movie several times. I've enjoyed it. What's your initial take?
Watching it, it's my second or third time watching it, but it's a very good movie. But now watching it again after like the past couple of years, what happened to Val Kilmer and stuff, it's kind of like a bittersweet.
You think?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Not the bad movie. It was the fact I'm going into it because I see how he is now, and it's kind of sad because how he was the top at this movie. He's the top of his game. He was like
sharp.
Yeah, he was basically becoming a huge movie star. And then, like it said, then you could kind of see where his career started to fizzle out in the 90s a little bit. And then he had problems with cancer in his vocal cords or on his throat throat cancer. So, and just seeing what a shell of a man he is, today, but it's like, and then just going in this movie, like because we watched the movie Val, that was narrated by his son, and just seeing the fact that learning everything about him. Going to Juilliard, he was in acting and in the plays. The reason this whole movie, the breakout he got because the director saw him in a play with Kevin Bacon, and I forget who the other guy was, but they were doing a stage play, and they just like, I want this guy. And when he came to do audition, he auditioned as Elvis. He was dressed up as Elvis for this role and the other thing you gotta know about this movie, these are the people who made Airplane.
Yeah, the Zucker brothers.
Yes.
Airplane, I think, was ABC, and I think it was only 6 episodes. One of the funniestly written things ever. Well, Airplane's the movie, but Police Squad is the TV show, but it's all from that.
And their idea going in this movie is like they didn't want a bunch of big stars. They wanted a bunch of nobodies because Airplane, the whole gag was you had a celebrity guest every scene. This we're just gonna get a bunch of nobodies, and then we'll have one guy, be the main star, and that was Val Kilmer. And like I said, this really broke out Val Kilmer's career, got him into Top Gun about 2 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just watching the early scenes in here, and so as I'm like, you remember if you watch when he was Batman in Batman Forever, getting to see him. There's a scene where he's watching at the opera, the ballet dancing and stuff, and he's got the little glasses. All I see is Batman there because that's like I said, he's a good looking dude. He can deliver. He sings in this movie. It's not a dub over. It's actually him singing.
Yep.
In this, as Nick Rivers. This movie is just all over the place. It's the 1950s, set in World War II, and it's kind of a little modern. Skeet City, skeet surfing. I love this, man. It's such a great film.
I'm actually going to go with a little bit of a different angle on this comedy movie. Being a teenager in the 80s, and then of course you being a teenager in the 90s, we try to compare and contrast some of the trends that have come out with things that we've noticed pop culturally and just whether economic, fashion, food, whatever. We've done some B-level movies intentionally on here, like Hard Ticket to Hawaii, that had a bunch of Playboy bunnies and stuff in it and everything. And what they'd be willing to show movies now versus then and what's considered socially acceptable. I gotta say this. In junior high school, all the women loved Ralph Macchio and they loved Val Kilmer. As a teenage guy, I liked this movie because I was familiar with the humor, which I'll talk about shortly. But physically speaking, when you're watching the trailer, you've got the lady coming and she's on the beach and she, lifts up a little bit, kind of almost, I call it like a mermaid stance where you call it like Cobra or Sphinx pose if you're in yoga, and you see her boobs carving out 2 C cups or whatever in the sand.
In the sand, the whole
harmless or whatever, very gorgeous woman. And it made me think, we know that Val Kilmer's had cancer since then. He's a good looking guy. I'm not going to say he did not age well, but some people are just naturally handsome, like Brad Pitt to me, that were started off pretty and became handsome. He in this movie, everybody in high school, all the women absolutely were drooling over this guy. Johnny Depp, they're kind of hot in a greasy sort of little kid way. The women loved Val Kilmer. They could not get enough.
I was gonna say back then, 84, Val Kilmer or Johnny Depp, they're like, screwed Johnny Depp's. I don't care, who cares about him. Val Kilmer is the handsome guy. He's the they really painted up in this movie too, as him being the rock teen idol. They basically, the way to describe when they were making this movie, the Zucker brothers were saying that this is the movie that Elvis didn't make. It's basically the army. It's a spoof on the old army movies, the black and white. No one's going undercover, and it's and also the Elvis movies.
The Elvis movies are dumb, stupid fun, but here's the thing with Elvis. He had charm, he had that southern kind of thing, but he's the generic term that I've used since early on here on the Extreme Movie Show, of a guy that you don't hate or whatever. I just call him hunky man meat. Val Kilmer, though, the thing about him is that there's stupid jokes and all that, but he's got that very sharp, quick-witted delivery, not in an annoying, piss you off Ryan Reynolds sort of way that only has a certain shelf life to it, and in a smart, intelligent way like a Chevy Chase. And this is exactly what I thought of when I saw this. I'm like, God, this is what Chevy Chase was like maybe 10, 15 years earlier, because Chevy Chase, super smart guy, just a comic timing thing. And you don't really know where Val was coming from. And of course, we all know now what he's done. And everyone thinks of him as a very smart guy. But either you have a comedy timing that he has, or you have to do comedy differently. So the whole thing with the comedy, I'll say this. There's a couple different kinds of comedy. There's exaggeration, right? Something really, really big, something really small. There's a... you're playing against type, right?
Yeah.
Like Schwarzenegger being in Hamlet, that we would see later in another of his movies. And then there's a physical kind where people like take a beating or whatever. And of course, we think of like the Three Stooges, right? Or Jackie Chan, when we talk about him, he has some goofy stuff, his expressions on his face. Here, this movie has almost in every scene, say, 2 or 3 combinations of it. And really smart, well-written movies are almost exhaustive in that if you go back and watch Mel Brooks films, like Young Frankenstein, you have that, right?
Yes.
And then, of course, there's that other specific level, like in Young Frankenstein, where it's a spoof on the actual horror movies. If you know horror movies, the jokes have that in them. Here, if you know spy movies, you have them in there, right? So he's a rock star. They make him into like a spy that
going in East Berlin, he just ends up being caught up for a girl.
Exactly.
This isn't like Richard Grieco where you're like, they mistake him for a secret agent. No, he sees a girl, he's smitten by her, and ends up trying to get involved. And she's supposed to be like her father, who has been kidnapped, but he's basically a German scientist, and he's being forced to work on stuff, is actually Alfred from the Byrne films. So like I said, there's a lot of stuff I forget a lot of things, especially when I haven't seen this movie since the 90s. So there's a lot I forgot, like the mice running when they're going to jump out the building. You look down, you see the cars, and you see the mice running between the Hot Wheel cars. It's like, and I was in here like, crash, and then the mouse hits a little car. All the little jokes in here, they got the blind antiques or novelties, who's basically talking to the other guy, the spy. And he's like, hey, do you know any good white basketball players? There are no good white basketball players. All the stupid little lines in here, all the secret code stuff, and I love that that's all they're doing. It's a parody. They're making fun of all of these old spy, World War II, one of those movies. I love it, and it works so well.
You got the shepherds opening up all the biscuits. It's just stupid.
Yeah. So it's like, what is it? Because they're like, papers, please. Like, here's the papers, and they look at you see the guy basically gets attacked. He's got a bag there, and he's like, oh no. It's like he drops the bag, and he's like, where are they taking him? Oh, they're not taking him anywhere. Boom, he gets shot. And then it's all his biscuits in there in the thing. It's ridiculous humor. But I thought it was very good as far as the fact that they let him actually sing the songs.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you get someone that dubs over them. because he can't sing, or they just don't want that person because they could get better singer. But just everything here. The guy, the spy, he ends up being like, oh, he's like, this isn't Howard's place. Over, he gets the car crusher. Then he shows up at the hotel. He's in a little car, and he's like, do you have the ticket? She's like, the ticket, and she's like, yes, it's in the glove box. Can you reach it? Honk honk. And then he goes, the other turns on the wiper fluids for his mouth, and he's like, well. She's like, where's your only? I can reach it. She reaches over, puts her boobs in his face, and then you see the antenna from the car rising up. Like this stupid humor like this. I love it.
If you saw the Naked Gun movies going from the late 80s into the 90s with Leslie Nielsen, Frank Drebin,
it's the same humor.
It is, and there's a lot of same scenes. There's a scene in here where they're the one that has Priscilla Presley, as Elvis Presley's wife, in there. Where Leslie Nielsen's looking up, they're on that like rolling ladder going up, like reaching up, and it looks like he's looking up her skirt. And he's like, "Nice beaver," and she goes, "Yeah, I just got it stuffed." And then she hands him a stuffed beaver. I mean, there's those very blatant kind of sexual innuendo jokes here. They have a scene like that in here, right? Yes. And then they have the fantasy on the beach kind of scene, making sweet love, which is a ripoff of was it Manchurian Candidate or the other one with the kissing on the beach that's real famous. So you see these repeated, the setups, right?
Yeah. Obviously, like I said, it's getting back to the point where we go to the ballet scene, where the girls are in the tutus, they're going around, and the guys come out, and they got huge cod piece under their pants. The lady sitting next to Val Kilmer, she's like, "Ooh, what's this?" And you see the girl at the ballet girls, they're running and they're dancing on top of like the cod pieces as she goes across. And then it's just stupid humor like that. And honestly, I love this. This is what I loved about the 80s. You could get away with stupid, immature humor. This is no different than having a Mel Brooks movie to me. Like Robin Hood Men in Tights. You use situational awareness and basically make it turn into a comedy. It's the dialogue or all the throwaway one-liners. When after he punched the cop, they run into the room. You're like, the first one is like, Jay says janitor. They open up. There's a janitor in there. The next room says props room. They go in there. It's a bunch of propellers spinning. It's like I said. It's just stupid humor. And honestly, this is a movie. If you're having a bad day, I recommend putting it on. It is just hilarious.
A lot of these kinds of movies that comedy movies like I always saw Jim Carrey. I saw Jim Carrey from In Living Color. I knew of him from other stuff. I saw his thing grow up. So when I watch some of his movies, a lot of the improv and the timing of it is what makes me laugh because it's so natural and seen, even if you know the joke and all that. And that's something where a lot of great stuff is
Dumb and Dumber, yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It doesn't, even though it's a very good film, it's funny, I can watch some of it's forgettable or wears on you, and I can't always watch it. It's just like this movie I can't always watch, but there's very few films that are like that, and I'm glad that some of these comedies are really successful, make you feel good when you're watching it and you laugh, because that's what it comes down to. You don't care how many times they've done the exact same scene or whatever in a different movie, you know what's coming. And I just look at a movie like this and I go, if you're around in the 80s and you saw it, this is a good example of what you would have. Val Kilmer, to me, I never went, oh, I got to see it because Val Kilmer's in it, but I went, this movie's a really good one. And if you're going to have a short list of it, you might think of other movies that might be more serious and dramatic, but I'm telling you, this one gets overlooked a lot by people, and it really shouldn't.
No, like I said, thanks to movies like this, especially this movie, I was able to, I enjoy other movies that came out later in the years called Kung Fu Hustle, Shaolin Soccer. It's the same thing, slapstick humor, and I feel like there's not a lot of that today, or if it is, there's so many jokes they're not allowed to do anymore. They got the German team, the cheerleaders. They're supposed to be they're guys dressed up as girls, but they're actually supposed to be girls on steroids. That's what is the whole joke. Like we have strong, the superior. Everybody is like, it's like. So I said the whole, everything in this movie is just hilarious. Like when he's in jail, he's like, dude, after the prop room scene, the cops arrest him. He's like, he told her, don't worry, I'm a singer. They have to let, they can't do anything to me. I'm a guest, their country. And you see him in the jail cell. He's like, he's got about 20 marks in there. He's just doing the little lines, the Roman numeral stuff, the little lines. And here comes his finally. Here comes his rep, his manager, And he's like, I was like, God, I've been here for 20 minutes. It almost seems like he's doing, because you remember you put a line for every day you've been in there.
Yeah.
So I said that it was stupid humor. He's like, and I love the whole conversation is just one gag after another. He's like, he tells Val Kilmer, he's like, I talked to the consulate, I talked to the embassy, I talked to the U.S. government and in the Eastern government, nothing I can do. I just can't please my wife. Can't get up. And he's like, well, have you tried this? The anal intruder? He has a big old box. He goes on to sell it. And it's like a jackhammer. It's got a little thing, a little tassel on it. And next thing you know, and they cut away and they cut back again. Now there's a fist on it. Later on, and
it's absurd.
I love it. Then, like, the next thing you know, they're taking him onto the cell. And he's like, what's going on? Like, and you see the electric chair, and you got this one time you got this priest is in front of him, is reading it, out of the Bible and stuff. And then he starts going hibiscus, whatever, this different stupid terms that aren't even nothing to do with the Bible. And you see the electric chair is silhouette of that, and then you see someone get electrocuted, and then they turn a panel back to the chair. It's the priest. They killed the priest. He's like, I want you to know that we make an example out of you, and these are my associates. It's like he's blind. It's like, and then the other ones, he's a moron because the only reason he only believes what's written in the New York Post. They work on him, they beat him up, and then he gets knocked out, and he's like, all of a sudden he's like, he has a memory, like he's in school. He's like, oh, I missed the exam. Like, oh no. And he wakes up, and he's like, oh, it was only a dream. He's like, thank goodness. He's getting whipped by the two guys with belts. I love it. It's just one gag after another. And honestly, it's like I said, there's no way you could hate this movie unless you're just in a bad mood. Nothing's gonna change it. But this is a very fun movie. It's well done. The jokes are meant to be hokey. They're not going to be like the best, but they're saying if you love Police Squad, which was a really good show, and then you also like the Naked Gun, you like just stupid humor, Airplane. That's what you're going to get in this. And if you've never seen it, you need to go pick it up. Go to order a copy. You can, if you want to watch digital, you can do that. You can go to Amazon Prime or even YouTube if you have premium. You can watch it there.
Actually, I think I found a link for it while we were talking on the Internet Archive.
That's why I watched it. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah, and it's a decent copy. I will post that in there. I do not believe that violates any particular terms or whatever, but sometimes we have that. It should be in there now. Yeah, look, I'm not gonna. This is not a movie I'm gonna sit there and go, man, I'm in the mood to watch me some Top Secret. Like I might Ace Ventura or something if I'm feeling in a weird mood. When I watch this, it brings me back to the 80s. It brings me back to that we had a lot of comedies because, here's the thing. There's a lot of sitcoms out there and laugh tracks. I can't stand those TV shows. One of the more popular shows that's out there, obviously, for a while was, was it 2.5 Men? The only thing I would maybe watch for is because a bunch of hot women, but it's a dopey-ass show. It really wasn't that funny to me, right? Or what's the one here with the nerds?
Oh, Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, then that's not funny at all. It's not. This is more humor to me. But again, what type of humor do you like? This kind of humor doesn't really exist that much anymore. Yeah, you can say scary movies, all that's a little bit, but that all comes from these Zucker brothers and what they did with Airplane. I think they did Kentucky Fried Movie, which we have not reviewed. That they started off and it was really kind of a spoof on stuff. But here's the thing. It's okay to have fun. You didn't see a lot of comedies and spoofs. You saw light stuff that was comedy or comedic, haha, make you smile. But this is just being absurd. And I tell you, spy movies are rife for it. So much so that even though Austin Powers, they weren't great, but what they did so good. It's like nobody wants to see Mike Myers and hey, when are you going to get the next one out? And that's it. But unfortunately, he really has nothing to spoof. James Bond has been dead.
You bring up those sitcom shows or comedy shows. Like I watch them in clips. I never sit there and watch the whole episode because the laughter doesn't get to me. It's to me. I just after a while it's okay. It's the same joke over and over again. I prefer watching, like, if you're gonna do something like that, have a show like that, don't make it like 30 minutes. Do it like a 10-minute episode. I don't care, or just the one-liners. Because a lot of these shows, you're right. The laugh track gets annoying. I never really noticed them back in the day, when I was a kid, you don't really focus on. I was watching Home Improvement or any TGIF. I didn't recognize that there was a laugh track. You know,
Home Improvement's an interesting thing because that's a show in the 90s, right? But the way they wrote their jokes and humor, the writing of it's all the same, except for the content was more about what it was like to be like a house dad kind of thing, which that had not been explored too much. The 80s particularly was involved in sex, pleasing your wife, all those jokes, or your money or your wife or whatever like that. And the guy's like, I'm thinking, an old classic joke. And Rodney Dangerfield always talked about how he can't please his wife and all these things. That was just commonplace that people talked about sex because that's an important thing, or money. And people kind of got away from it here in the 80s. It's just one of those things where, like, now if you throw a sexy woman in a comedy thing, she overdoes it so much where it's kind of like not funny. And it's hard to explain because comedy you have to sell. And Val Kilmer does a great job of making you realize he is a character, he is a dope, but he's not in on it, and that's what's funny. But you have to be good at it.
Like you can tell that this guy is a serious actor, though. It's just saying he's not just in there for the paycheck. He said in the movie about it's on A23. You can go 2023 film. You can go watch it. It's called Val. Very great documentary. It's about 2.5 hours, 3 hours long, I think it was.
Didn't we review that?
I think we did review it. Yeah.
Yep.
It is just a fantastic film. He talks about every film he did, no matter what it was. He took it seriously, because you never know who's going to be watching that film and watching your acting. It's what helped you get other parts. If you put a half-ass it, why should anybody hire you? And he always hated that. And he wanted to basically be an actor. That was his big role. His big goal in life was that. He really he said he wasn't doing it just for himself. He was doing it for his brother who had passed away when they were a kid.
Right.
So he really takes even the jokes in here, the singing stuff. It's serious. It's everything. You can tell that he is not just phoning it in. And that's what makes this movie stand out more than some of the other ones.
Now, I know you know more about this kind of content than I do, but I think recently a movie just came out. I don't know if it's is it Captain Avenger 4 or whatever it is, where you have the Red Hulk in it that's played by Harrison Ford.
Yeah, for 5 minutes.
I saw a quick clip of Harrison Ford, basically someone saying, hey, how can you, play somebody like a Red Hulk or whatever like that and not feel kind of silly about it? And he goes, well, I hate to bust your bubble. That's what the money's for. And he's saying this like, yeah, I don't give a shit. I'm getting highly paid. I could give a rat's ass. But to me, it sounds like he's phoning it in when he says it. That being said, there's an element of truth to it, right? I mean, you're paid to do all that. Now, what I like about comedies like this that are obviously very basic level kind of set pieces and all that is that there's a lot of improv going on. There's hey, we're trying to communicate this. You see Jim Carrey, and if you've seen all his films, he does a lot of this Fire Marshal Bill or Bob or whatever the hell his name is. He does a lot of the same kind of jokes of this or that. And you see the same kind of setup, but at the moment you see him kind of like, just, I'm imagining myself, if I'm the straight guy sitting across from him, what is he going to do? How is he going to do it? You're capturing a little bit of magic in that moment. I think Val does a very good job in here of doing that too. I'm not saying it's as improvised, but it's not like, hey, every third or fourth sentence, ha ha ha, laugh like a sitcom, right? So I think this movie does get it right, and that's what the Zucker brothers do, but they would overwhelm you with an exaggeration, whether it's the German guy being all serious and walking up to the phone, and like the receiver is like, 3 times the size of, things like that, right? I mean, it's kind of dumb. It doesn't make you laugh all the time, but every scene there's multiple ones. So sometimes when you go back and watch it, even you're like, oh, this is the one where she's got the boobs sticking in the sand. Maybe there's something else in the background, the scene that you go, wait a minute. Oh, maybe that's where it's come. Or like From Here to Eternity, like Martyn mentioned here in chat. Yeah, if you don't know where that comes from, that's where it comes from. Oh, there's going to have another one from it. There's always stuff like this going on here. If you don't know anything about the Blue Lagoon and Brooke Shields and how that was really big, to me, the guy in here that you see on the picture you've got here with the blonde hair, that's just a blatant ripoff of it to me. Otherwise, you go, well, what's the significance of it? Why did they do that? So there's levels to it that are intentional, which I do like. Yeah, overall, a very kind of fun film. Reminds me of the early to mid 80s, not late 80s, right? But this was one I wanted to say at the beginning, and I didn't. I'll say it now. This is one that won the poll that we had that had Fletch and Spies Like Us. And people really want the slapstick because Fletch, to me, is probably the best of the three personally. But it's a certain kind of humor that if somebody watched it now today and don't know Chevy Chase, don't know the Lakers of the 80s and all that, might not get a lot and go, hey, this isn't as funny. At least Top Secret, I understand it's a spy thing.
I watched Funny Farm, and I didn't like that. So whenever I hear people say about Fletch, it's always talked up. It's like I'm always hesitant to pull the trigger and watch Fletch, But it was on the list in case it happened up. I mean, I'd watch it. For me, Chevy Chase is National Lampoon's. That's what I like. That's his character that I like. He does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or anytime he's on, on SNL, that stuff like that.
Yeah, the voters voted, and this definitely struck a chord. And I think, honestly,
I did not.
That's Val.
Movie,
it's Val.
I did not expect Spies Like Us to come in that close to becoming, second, winning.
That made a strong run towards the end for second place. Absolutely true.
We were talking before yesterday, talking about we might as well just do that on Tuesday. Then Spies Like Us, get it out of there because there was a huge demand for it.
Yes. Yes.
And I haven't seen that in a while too, but that's exciting. That's another Chevy Chase movie, and with Dan Aykroyd, and it's acquired humor, kind of for just like kind of how you probably I'm guessing what Fletch is too. Either you like that type of humor or you don't, and it seems like there's still a following for it. Even though I hear some people say like it's not as good, and I'm not sure if that Bach of what is bombed or what did well in the 80s because I wasn't around, or at least I wasn't mentally aware of what was going on around me. I was like born 85, so
I'll tell you, Martyn is saying something that's worth its weight in gold in there that a lot of younger people won't get. In that, like as a kid, man, it was Chevy Chase. I watched them in Oh Heavenly Dog with Benji. Another one called Modern Problems, and I've tried to rewatch them, and I can't. They're brutal.
Martyn brings to this. Chevy Chase to me is SNL. She doesn't like him in movies.
I
can understand. I can understand that. It's like Dan Aykroyd by himself. It doesn't really do well for me. I like Dan Aykroyd opposite of Bill Murray in the Ghostbusters. Blues Brothers was okay, but he's like I said, he's not an A-list actor for me. He's more like a supporting actor. He's not a lead.
Well, he did seems like Old Times and Foul Play, which are a bit more solid than the other two I mentioned. At some point, we'll probably get around to those as well from the late 70s to that. Yeah, he's a music guy. That video was very popular on a long time. That was, I think, late 80s.
I do like that. The Paul Simon one. Yeah, that's one of his most famous things he's done outside of SNL.
Yeah. Another program announcement I'll say here, in addition to Spies Like Us for Tuesday, that we're going to call it. That's, of course, Tuesday night when you repost a new poll. We're going to go ahead next week. Though you James Bond fans, it's been a long time coming. Over the holidays, we've had a lot of shift in the schedule, but the young 20-something Professor Brooks and I will continue our James Bond movie marathon in order because he's seen very few of them. And the next one, of course, is one of the best ones, certainly, in my opinion, the best of the two Timothy Dalton ones, and that's License to Kill. Phenomenal movie.
Is it the shark movie?
Well, there's a lot of shark ones.
No, is that the one where
the drug dealing one?
Oh, it's Robert Davi.
Yes, who's one of the best villains of all time. That's sick. We're going to be doing that next week, so be looking for that. He's currently one of my favorite
celebrities right now. Like everything he says, he's no filter. Says how it is. I love it. I follow him on Twitter.
He was one of the bad guys in Goonies. If you guys,
yes,
opera because
he's also Agent Johnson.
Exactly.
Tired.
Yeah. But License to Kill will be doing, I think, live. I'm thinking 6 p.m. Eastern time.
But you also got to remember that it's the film debut of Benicio del Toro.
Correct.
Yes.
Who's a thug in there? One of his lackeys.
Who looks just like him a little bit. They're like brothers.
Yeah.
So,
final thoughts, sir.
Final thoughts. Like I said, just go check out this movie. I'm sure you can find it wherever they have thrift stores, if they sell, or any stores like record stores or sell older movies or DVDs. You'll be able to find this. It'll probably be able to cost you $10, or if you go on to like the Blu-ray.com, I'm sure you can find it on there. But if you can, I always recommend try to find older used DVDs because sometimes they're not censored, where the new ones they'll edit stuff out. Like Crocodile Dee just came out, they're releasing again, and they're taking out the scene in the bar where he gets hit. He starts flirting with the guy dressed as a girl and drag. Like they're censoring stuff. So I said your best bet if you want to watch original uncut stuff is go for the older copies. Yeah.
You're right, and I will say this: we just completed our Forever Night season 1 review, and the episode was great. Early on in some of the episodes, it was kind of hard to watch because it's an earlier show from the 90s, and it was one of the early ones on DVD. But there's a Canadian version. I think there's like a European version up to like 4 to 5 minutes, and that's enough time in a less than 1 hour show, because literally they're like 42 minutes an episode. They could change the whole tone of it, whether it's funny, whether it's sexy, whether you're implying a relationship developing with another character. So it's a little frustrating to watch, but you hit the nail on the head with the physical media part. And I usually don't bitch about it too much, but here's the thing. Not only do people might say, hey, let's get the Lace of Grace because it's remastered. We remastered the audio. Well, they wash out sometimes the colors and digitize it, and it doesn't look like it was shot as great as it does on film. And some of the content is the obvious one. Disney's very guilty of it, as well as major studios. But when you have something floating around 2 or 3 different license holders, well, this movie was here, then Disney owned it. Well, now it's owned by Paramount, or now owned by whatever. Each of them along the way, if they want to reissue it to cash in on that money, might filter at that time too. So your point is absolutely solid. If you can catch the old one, that's usually best.
I mean, look at some of these shows; they don't have the right. So especially like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, when it went to Netflix, they didn't have the right to the actual theme song, so they had to put in. Or no, it wasn't Buffy. It was Charmed, and a lot of people were mad, like, because they don't have the Smithereens,
Right, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
If you and I ever go to review Miami Vice, which we've been talking about, you've got to watch it, and hopefully wherever you, ladies and gentlemen, choose to see the episodes of Miami Vice out. I don't even know where it's playing out right now, or maybe you have a copy of it. It's not worth it if you do not have the actual songs that are playing that were in all the episodes that before, because some of them, I know rights-wise, they don't want them on the other videos that have come out, and that ruins it. That kills it to me. That pisses me off.
Luckily was able to find a DVD collection of the complete series, but I also been watching it over on Vudu, which is now called Fandango at Home. And so far they have not changed anything over on Vudu or Fandango. So So I love Goonies. Here, speaking of Goonies has a sequel coming out. It's actually been confirmed now. Before it was kind of up in the air. There's actually like a placeholder and everything. Will they get Robert Davi to come back? That'd be awesome. But yeah, I mean, physical media is where to go. If you can get physical media and an older physical media, go with that. As far as movies like this, I would say the first 2 Austin Powers are good. The third one you can pass up. That's horrible. Ace Ventura, I like the first one. Second one, completely different movie. But I mean, I said, like, if you like spoofs like this, there's check out Shaolin Soccer, check out Kung Fu Hustle. Those are fun movies. And just, I'm trying to think what other, there was a couple of different spoofs movies that came out later too, right around the 80s and 90s. Oh, Hot Shots. Yes, Hot Shots is another one you should check out.
Where do you think that? And that came from this to me.
Yep.
Any of the scary movie ones, all that came from this.
Yep. So it's like I said, like, scary movies aren't even coming out anymore. I haven't seen, what's the last spoof you've heard of, come out? I can't. Probably one of the scary movies, right? That was it.
Yeah.
That's funny. It's been produced by the Wayans brothers.
Yeah.
Whether they're in it or not. Like I said, there's not that many slapstick comedies out that are really good, but I would say check them out. One of these days, rounds, we're going to review Bulletproof Monk.
Well, I tell you, the Wayans brothers there with their show, they discovered Jim Carrey. A lot of talent went on that show. They had actors, backers. They had a movie called I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, which is really funny, that we've talked about doing on here. It's been so long. But I'm wondering now that we're talking about how much they might have been influenced by watching the Zucker brothers. Because
Blank Man.
Don't, please, no. Major Pain, no, please, no, don't subject me to that.
Encino Man. Some of these other movies.
No.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind checking out some other stuff. Honestly, there's a lot of stuff we have not done in this film. We have not done the raunchy comedies. We have not done Porky's yet.
Yeah,
and that's on the list. There's just so much to cover, and we're kind of right now we're kind of bouncing around in the 80s. We last week we did actually this last Tuesday we did what's it called, Iron Eagle.
Mm-hmm.
We reviewed that again. and it's okay. It's as far as the reviews so far, as far as view numbers on it, it's just people just aren't into that movie as much. I could maybe if we did Top Gun, maybe that'd do better. I don't know.
It's an acquired taste.
It's weird. Our audience is all over the place. We were doing martial arts. We were getting tons of views, and then we started doing 80s, and then we kind of went away from that, and now we're kind of we're trying to remind people, hey, we still do 80s movies, So come back.
So Spies Like Us Tuesday, new poll will be up, and then Sunday Night Live will be Sunday Night Live. So Saturday Night, go figure.
I know, right?
We'll be doing the next James Bond, One License to Kill, and 7 p.m. to be determined based on your votes, ladies and gentlemen. So be sure to look for that. Good night now.
Later, guys. And if you haven't done so, please click like and check out our comment section, where you can leave a comment that actually help the algorithm say, you know what, these people are engaging with these, they're watching it, they're leaving a comment, maybe we should share it out to other people. So and also check out our playlists. We have a bunch of them in the play. You can watch reviews. Definitely, if you've it helps you, because if you've never seen the movie, now you're like, yeah, I'll go check this out, and then you can watch it afterwards. But anyway, we'll see you guys on Tuesday. Later. What was the joke in the with the girl if she met the guy and he's like there is no women's basketball team or something, or no, what is your favorite basketball team or something? And he says that the heterosexual one, the women's basketball team, I think he said.
Oh, I don't remember.
It's killing me now. It's at the last minute. It's like, all right, awkwardness. All right, later, guys.